All right, it's the Daily Fix with your host Ron Hughley, and it is now through. Well, I guess one more game tonight. We got the Rams and the Vikings, and then wild card. I'm sorry, as they call it, Steve. Super wild card weekend will be over. Only one good game. All of them. The rest of them were blowouts. It was the last one we saw last night, but the AFC is decided. The NFC is almost decided. We know when the Chiefs are going to play. We know when everybody in the AFC is going to play. We know the Final Four in the AFC. As we said, this is the Daily Fix every single day, 12 noon Central Standard Time. If you listen, please share, tell a friend or nine as we try to build this thing every day. Foolish Club Media is powering the Daily Fix right there in that little box. You can see him as he rightfully belongs. It's the beautiful Steve Serta.
Hi.
There he is. There he is. Steve's tired, but Steve's in here, baby. I love it when you go, Steve's tired. So Steve's in here, baby. It's all
true.
right. I know it's true. We can all see it. It's written all over your face, as the song says. All right. One thing I do need you to do, if you have not done so, if you rock with us every day, I surely hope you've done this. But please head over to our YouTube channel, Foolish Club Media. Please like and subscribe as we continue to try to grow this thing. Remember, if you do not do so, you're preventing my 3 children from eating. Not going to hold you long, but this new narrative is about to change on Justin Herbert. And I'll give you some insight on how I feel this thing is about to go. And then I got to have a personal conversation with some of you that are Chiefs fans that start all the way to the top or to the ones that many people don't know. I got to address something here. But let's start here. The Chiefs were off. Was it sort of they haven't played a meaningful game since Christmas? Literally Christmas Day. And we know they are going to play the first game of the divisional round. They're going to play Saturday in Kansas City. We're supposed to be low 30s, upper 20s, 3:30, and they will take on the Houston Texans. The Houston Texans, as I predicted, please, you can go to Show and BK, and you can see alone that I was the only one to predict exactly how the thing happened, and that is that the Chargers will go down to the Texans, and they did. So a rematch from about a month ago. These two teams faced each other, Serta, and I think the interesting thing early on this thing is, all right, who has the advantage in a rematch setting? Generally, there is like a mental thing of payback that a team has, the team that lost. Like, I do think there is a bit of a payback feature for the Chiefs if they get a chance to run into the Bills again. But usually there's a payback here. And the Texans lost the game in Arrowhead about a month ago. They lost Tank Dell in that game, and it seemed like to many Houston fans that's when the game turned. But if we look at this, we know that the Chiefs are coming off a bye, and we know what that means for Andy Reid and how good he has been, especially under Mahomes coming off a bye. And in that Chiefs game, there was no DJ Humphries. There was no Shamari Connor. That might be a good thing. Jalen Watson wasn't in that game, and it looks like he may return. For the Texans in that game, they didn't have Azeez Alshire, their middle linebacker, their leader on that defense. Foley Fatukasi, their best run stopper. Juice Scruggs, who is now their starting guard in that game. John Mechie was hurt. Cade Stover was hurt. And they have added Deontay Johnson since then. But they do lose Tank Dell, which is obviously a big key as he lit up the Chiefs a little bit in that game. Listen, I think the Chiefs still have the advantage in this thing. The Chiefs always are facing teams that they have already beaten. Every single team in the AFC they have played. So they have traditionally faced this. This is not unusual for them as they run into this a lot. And Hollywood Brown had only played his first game in that game, and we saw he added some juice. This offense is playing much better. I think as much as some people think it was fake, Mahomes is going to be healthier here. I think their offensive line is more solidified and understanding of what they're going to do. Um, I do think game plan wise, I'm not so certain that Andy and Spags just held stuff back. I know some people think they did. I don't think it's a crazy talk to think that. I'm not so sure they held stuff back, but I do think they have adjustments off of things that happened in that first game. And I think they have an advantage there. And it's the playoffs. I think the Texans will play better than they did in that game, but I also think the Chiefs take it up another notch. So I do think that the Chiefs have the advantage in the rematch.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I would expect. It's the playoffs. It's do or die time for the Kansas City Chiefs. They're getting the healthiest that they have been all season long, and they've had a bunch of time to prepare for multiple of these opponents. And so it helps that they saw the Texans late in the season.
I think that
And
does help. Yeah.
yeah, like I think everything is lining up for this to be a Chiefs win, but credit to the Texans. Like, their defense, I think, is playing a lot better than I was really giving it credit for headed into the matchup. So I did not expect the Houston Texans to dominate the Chargers that way.
Well, I mean, we could talk about it more in the week, but I mean, it's not even just playing better because I mean, the last real time you saw them out was against the Ravens, and they just got absolutely torched. It's just with certain opponents, they have games like this. They did this to the Dolphins. They did this to Buffalo. They did this to the Lions, even though they lost that game. The Lions turned the ball over 5 times. By the way, as you can see, that may be a small key in this game. All right. Some of you all out there, got to pull it together here. We saw that Mahomes wasn't an All-Pro originally. I mean, not originally. He wasn't an All-Pro. That came out last week. It went uh, to to Lamar Jackson first team and Josh Allen second team, and he was not a Pro Bowler. All right, off the initial vote, it goes to Josh Allen, Lamar, and Joe Burrow. And I've seen all the way from the top with guys like Nick Wright to many, many, many Chiefs fans, um, on social media that Mahomes was snubbed, Mahomes was screwed. And I just got to say this, guys, we got to chill. Like, it was right. It was more than right. Like, Mahomes has come on late. Mahomes is still, I believe, the best player in the world, and there is no other quarterback I'd rather have than him. But this year, for the season, sir, he's not an All-Pro. He's not a Pro Bowler, right? There are 3 quarterbacks, hands down, in the AFC who have flat out had a better season than him. All right? And this isn't just a one of a thing around him. I mean, the first 8 weeks, he just was uncharacteristic with his turnovers. And here's a sneak, like, honest thing about it. If that thing went to a third team for All Pro, he wouldn't be on it. If that thing went to a fourth team All Pro, Jared Goff and Sam Darnold have probably had better seasons than he has. Like, I mean, there is like this is not something sort of that people should look at that is unfair to Mahomes or the Chiefs. He just didn't have as good a year as other quarterbacks, and he's getting fairly treated.
Yeah, that's perfectly fair. Like generally, he has kind of been above that. We see this in the NFL, especially with the Pro Bowl, where it's like lots of times it's more body of work than it is actual what you've done in that individual season for lots of
like Khalil Mack and Laramie Tunsil making the Pro Bowl this year. Yes.
Yeah, like it has to do with more of just like who you are and how familiar people are with you generally. But and that just further goes to show there was a lot of quarterbacks who had really good seasons this year, and Patrick Mahomes statistically just wasn't up there with the rest of them. And it's probably a different case if they have Hollywood Brown and Rashee Rice for the entirety of a
or the offensive line. Yeah.
yeah. but he didn't, and the stats weren't great. But all that really matters is that the Chiefs are playing the best football of their season at the right time.
Yes.
And they've got a divisional round matchup on Saturday against the Texans. I do not care if he got snubbed from the Pro Bowl in the All-Pro this season.
Well, the thing is, you don't have to care because he didn't. If this was fourth quarters, then maybe he got snubbed or screwed. But this is for the full season. Like we gotta be honest. Like some of those picks he threw didn't have nothing to do with Hollywood Brown being hurt, or even some of the as much as the offensive line issues. He just made horrible decisions and threw bad passes. He's still the best in the game, and I still believe in him more than any quarterback out there. It's just this season, no, he didn't play well enough to be in that category. All right, finally here. Justin Herbert was so bad in the game. I believe the number one reason, if I'm a Chargers fan, he was the number one reason that team lost the game. This is his second postseason performance, and this is worse than the first one. I know the first one he blew a 30-0 lead, but this is worse. He threw 3 interceptions all season. He threw 4 in the game. One of them wasn't his fault, but he still threw 3 that were clearly his fault. Just awful decisions, didn't give a rip about the game, tried to go all over the top. And here's how I think. I think now, Steve, the new narrative will shape, right? Justin Herbert, I feel like Justin Herbert will not shake this off until he wins like an MVP or gets to a Super Bowl. Like I think he has to have a Josh Allen year for him to shake this off, right? Josh Allen has just now shook off the inaccurate, screws things up. Like he's just, even though how good he's been, he's just shook that off with the season he had. Herbert's going to have that. And now I think what the narrative was before was probably Steve giving him a little too much credit or having him too high of a level based off what he's actually done. Now, Steve, I think it's going to swing so far the other way, it's going to be wrong too. I think now Justin Herbert is going to be they're going to act like he is viewed like he's Baker Mayfield or something or worse. And now it's going to be so hard on Justin Herbert that it is going to be so far for the opposite that side is wrong too. So if we can just, like, we just have to not go over the top with it is, Justin Herbert is not an elite quarterback yet. All right. He is still a very good quarterback that has the potential to be elite, but we can't put him in the category that a lot of people have put him in, but he also doesn't now suck either. And he also doesn't, it also isn't a deal of, hey, that dude Herbert now, I'd trade him. He's not Trevor Lawrence now. Like, let's reel it in. And I feel like sort of that's the route it's about to go with Justin Herbert.
Yeah, and I just feel like we act as if there's too many elite quarterbacks in the NFL, like in general. Like,
yeah,
it's Patrick Mahomes, it's Josh Allen, it's Lamar Jackson, and then
and it's Joe Burrow.
Yeah, like those are like the 4 guys that I think are truly elite quarterbacks. And the NFC is like loaded this season with a bunch of really talented teams. But those are teams that are just really well constructed, that have talent all over the place.
With good quarterbacks to really good quarterbacks, but no great.
Yeah. And that's perfectly fine. Like what the Chargers accomplished this season with, totally revamping their organization this offseason and trying to like totally reset their roster, essentially, for the most part. Like, that was a good year for the Chargers. And now it's building on that with your head coach in place who's going to try to maximize the talent on the roster. So for them moving forward, things look good, but they certainly have to get more out of Justin Herbert in these clutch situations. But they also have to just put more talent around him because that Chargers team's not particularly talented.
Yeah. No, he'll get more talent. But we do have to be honest, he was terrible in the game. Like his decisions. Yeah. Like the interception he threw, they're up 6-0. The Texans are doing nothing. And C.J. Stroud had just thrown an awful pick himself on the sideline. I still don't know who he was throwing that to. And then you come back, and just because Greg Roman calls a rollout, deep shot to the other side of the field, doesn't mean you have to throw it if it's clearly double covered. And I mean, they had a chance. There is no way that they should have lost control of that game like that. And he just couldn't stop turning the ball over and making poor decisions and holding the ball forever. So look, Herbert deserves real fair criticism. But let's not go overboard, which I know we are. I don't even know why I'm asking that. Bye, Mom. And Courtney.